Evelyn Darden was one of the first black women lawyers in the state of Maryland.
The 11th African American woman to be admitted to the Maryland bar.
One could see the talent and the potential of a young woman who was trying to do something with the law that would make a difference.
Your own office and your own business, that was something for women.
I nominated her for the Trial Lawyer of the Year.
Evelyn served as the pro bono counsel for the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP.
My mother-in-law is one of the busiest people I know.
She's a special gem and high energy person.
Well, she'll surprise you a lot of times. She's tough, that's for sure.
The essence of Olivia is about being a Christian and being a family member and helping in the community.
She puts her money where her mouth is. You know, it's where the rubber meets the road.
Evelyn proved to be one of the strongest human beings I have ever worked with.
A mountain climber and a trailblazer.
An outstanding lawyer.
Prosecutor,
student,
mom, wife,
great friend,
grandma,
a role model,
colleague,
a business owner,
partner,
devout Christian,
mentor,
kind person.
She's the leader of the pack.
Just a fine woman, she really is. And then she's pretty too.
Cream will rise to the top, and she's definitely shown she's at the top of her game.
When I grew up, there were uncles and aunts and cousins. We all lived in this one big house. When I tell people I lived in a house with over 30 people, they go, what? My grandmother was in essence the first lawyer or advocate that I know. People would come and knock on her door and say, Miss Beulah, we need you to help us out. And she would get in her car, and of course I was a favorite grandchild. She would take me with her, and I would see her standing there before a judge, telling the judge why the person shouldn't go to jail. And I just admired her. I mean, she only had a grade school education, but when she spoke, people listened. My mother was pastor of Fowler's United Methodist Church. And she was a trailblazer because back then there were few women in actual ministry.
Everything that she did was by the book, the good book.
Church played a big role. I loved church because church was really my social outlet. My mother was okay to go to activity at church, but I wasn't going to any parties up there at Cedar Hill.
My grandparents were both strict disciplinarians. There was no time for foolishness. Playing may get you hurt. Be serious about what you do and be the best at what you do. And I know that those qualities permeated my mom's essence.
Every morning and evening for dinner, we have a chance to look at our favorite placemats. This is the Wally H. Bates High School yearbook. I am in the center, majorette, and in the same line that I'm in, there's Mark, the drummer. I couldn't wait to get to Bates. It was like, wow. There were so many things to do. English and science and math and choir or music or art. It was just so absolutely exciting. As far as boyfriends go, I really didn't have any, because I even told Mark when he asked me for the first date, it's like, I'm really too busy, I don't have time for a boyfriend. Mark and I have been friends because we both played in the band. He played, I marched. He tells people, back then she marched to my beat. I said, babe, I still do. He said, you know, you lie. It was on his graduation date that he asked me to go out on a date to go to the senior dance. I had to convince my mother that it was okay for me to go with him. That's how our courtship started, and the rest is history. We've been married for almost 50 years now.
So I've been married to Olivia 48 years. She's been a good woman, she's been a good mother. She's my best friend.
The majority of our courtship was by way of letter writing. Mark was in the Army. He'd write sometimes 2 or 3 letters a day to me, and I was doing the same thing. We would just share our thoughts and our hopes and our dreams.
Now, where's my graduation picture at? There I am, Olivia Addison-Darden.
She's like a sister.
I was looking at 2 or 3 different colleges. Morgan really was my first choice. I would see Judge Bell on the evening news as one of the leaders for the sit-ins, and I was glued to the TV, and I was thinking, I want to do that when I get there. And my mother heard me, and she said, oh, no, you're not. You're going there to get an education. You're not going there to get arrested. So and I was thinking, if I go there and they're still doing it, I'm in.
All of us had the idea that we were going to have an impact. It's hard to describe because it was a separateness, a real separateness in the communities that had to be overcome.
25 years later, we decided that we were going to celebrate our silver anniversary. They were our little flower girls, now grown women. It's beautiful. June 26, 1965. I had just finished my second year of college, and we got married about a month later.
She was 19 and I was 20. That was young for 2 people. Work was hard to find. I was just coming out of the military, and I wanted to go to school too, but I said, well, I'll go on and work. I was glad I was able to do it.
I took a full load every semester, and I would take Skip to Morgan with me, take him to my girlfriends, and let them babysit for me while I go to class. To this day, they said, well, we helped to raise that child. I said, yeah. Here I am, a young mom, full-time in college, and working a part-time job. I've always had a busy life.
Evelyn was of the mind that she was not going to disappoint any expectation, and she did not.
My first aspiration was to become a teacher.
Olivia and I talked incessantly. There was an instant friendship. She taught with my husband at Lamell Junior High School. We made our husbands do things because we wanted to do them. They even wore the same clothes, our husbands. She and I switched clothes together. I told her that I thought I would go to law school, and I thought that she should also.
When she told me that, I started to believe it. Okay, maybe I can do this thing. And so before I knew it, I was off to law school.
We felt that we were not only blazing a trail for ourselves, but for future generations.
There were 25, maybe 26 of us, African-American students. In the spring, prominent African-American attorneys and judges and others would come in, speak to us, encourage us, celebrate with us at the end of a very grueling year.
Evelyn was a little bit older than us, and so she brought a level of maturity to our group.
They came over to my house. We just sort of buried ourselves in the basement there and studied around the clock sometimes.
I believe that God placed her in our life for that moment, and she played a very pivotal role.
It was like the 3 longest years of my life. It's like, will this ever be over? Being married and now with 2 children.
My dad's running his own business at the time, and so she was secretary for him. She would order the parts, she would do all the payroll, then she'd go to law school.
After the first semester, Evelyn was quite devastated because she felt like she had not done well.
I went into the dean's office and I told him, thanks, but no thanks. Said, I'm ending it, and he basically said, okay.
She called me and said, I can't do this. I said, okay, go back to teaching. So she was in teaching 2 days, and she called me and said, would you be upset if I went back to law school?
Something miraculous happened. She started getting her grades back. Now keep in mind, she hadn't gotten any grades, but she had made this decision. It came an A, and then it was a B, and then it was an A, and it's a Evelyn, so come to find out, she had better grades than we had.
Professor Chandler, who was one of only 2 black professors there, he made it clear in no uncertain terms that I did not have the right to quit. He said, you owe it to yourself and to other people to be there and to give it at least a year. And it's like, okay. And it taught me a lesson. It taught me never to quit.
My mom's graduation from college was the first in the family. Her graduation from law school was unexpected. All of my grandparents that were living at the time attended the graduation. For her to accomplish what she did from the small little community of Annapolis where she grew up, they were very proud, as I was very proud.
There were so many people who had prayed for us, the grandmothers and the grandfathers and folks who had come before us. So all of us being a part of that process, I think made every one of us stronger. The thing that capped it all off was when we all passed the bar together. And by the way, there were a lot of students, white students, who did not pass the bar. And we did.
I was elected state's attorney of Baltimore City, and we asked Evelyn to step into one of the toughest areas in the prosecutor's office, and that was the narcotics unit. She's tough. I mean, if you wanted to characterize Evelyn's career as a prosecutor, the term steel magnolia would absolutely apply. Evelyn really wanted to use the law to improve the quality of life for people, but doing it through a private practice.
With offices in Anne Arundel County, there hadn't been 5 black lawyers in the history of the county.
There was a need, and that to me was very significant and something that took some courage.
There were not a lot of women, and not a lot of African American women, who could say that this is my own office building.
Thank you, Lord, for the kind of gift that you cannot put in a box and put a bow on it.
This firm stands for integrity. It stands for excellence. When I first started this firm, I knew that if I put myself into it, I was giving it my all, and that's what I've always done. Sometimes people come into our office and they're not really certain what the problem is. They're just worried to death about something.
The dog went to his friend, tried to attack his friend.
We listen, we're able to explain to them, this is the issue, this is the problem, and then we're able to tell them whether or not we can assist them.
She listens to people, and there's no more important quality for an attorney to have.
I came on really day one when she opened, and I came in as her law clerk. I saw that as a great opportunity, but I can tell you, I was scared to death.
But when he decided he wanted to become a lawyer, I said, well, that's great. Here I have someone I've always loved, admired, and now I'm respecting him. That is the highlight of her career, having Skip as her partner.
Mother and son. I mean, as much as I love my mother, I don't think I could work with her.
You knew if you wanted to get a smile out of her, just ask her, how y'all doing? And she knew what we meant, and she would beam and tell us.
So you want to split up the ones that are... Working with my mom has been extremely rewarding and extremely challenging. I got sworn in on a Tuesday. The very next day, she had a jury trial. And she hands me the file on the drive up 95. She goes, you're trying a case. And I thought I was going to choke, but I couldn't show it to her. I had to remain cool.
You know, they don't always see eye to eye 24/7. They have totally different strengths, but they work very well together. They're both passionate about helping people.
Evelyn would call from time to time and ask if I would like to volunteer for something that she was involved with, and she's a person you don't turn down.
Evelyn served as the chairman of the Bates Legacy Center for 4 years. We just spent a lot of hours together. She's a fighter, she's an advocate. Evelyn was always concerned that we be able to tell our own story.
It was a labor of love.
Welcome back home.
You know, that school gave so much to me. And on grand opening day, Mark and I walked into that gym and saw what they had done to our basketball court there. It was like, wow! Every hallway, you have a memory. And every time you turn the corner, you can say, oh, that was my math class. Oh, that was the science lab. And to know that it's been restored to its glory.
Olivia, hold your hand back. I saw those aces in your hand.
Oh my God.
Why you say my partner's name?
Because in my hand. The very fact that she said
Everything out of her mouth for as long as I've known her is family. Yes, she's a lawyer, and I'm sure she does an excellent job, but nothing will interfere from her relationship with her spirituality and her family.
Amen.
I value her opinion and oftentimes bounce things off of her.
She will give you advice whether you solicit it or not. And so if you really don't want to know the truth, then don't ask.
She invests so much time into her grandchildren.
And then those things we would...
On a weekly basis, all of the grandkids, all 6 of them, go to her house every Sunday and they have Bible study session with her.
She wants them to know the Lord, but she also wants them to be good people. The Grandma Camp is wonderful.
Every summer, for 1 week, she takes all of the grandkids.
They're doing something productive, they're having fun, but at the same time it allows us to unwind.
We can sneak off and get away.
When Evelyn Darden's husband Mark needed a kidney transplant, there was no doubt in her mind who the donor would be.
We were very grateful that Mom was a match for Dad. It enhanced his life. We're just very blessed that she was able to do that.
I really wasn't a doll baby kind of, little girl. I was the kind who climbed trees and hiked through the woods. My passion for hiking and traveling the world and doing what my friends call crazy stuff, it's a combination of my love of nature, my love of God's creation and adventure. To look out and to say, wow, I did this. Only God could create something so magnificent.
When she puts her mind to something and she knows she's driven to do it, it's going to happen. Her dream was that she would take her children and her grandchildren to West Africa, Ghana. We had an exciting trip, and it's a trip that I will remember forever. She's very well respected in Ghana. They call her Mama Africa.
To leave behind such a great profession where I have the opportunity to help so many people, it wasn't an easy decision. I wanted to be able to establish something that my grandchildren and children after them will be able to long benefit from.
I remember the conversation with Olivia was, do you have one more good game left in you? I saw the shoulders go back. She looked at me straight in my eyes and she says, I'm not done yet.
My son followed into my footsteps in the legal profession, and I followed his footsteps into the energy deregulation business.
I was born by the river in a little tent. And just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, you and I as citizens have the power to set this country's course. But I know a change is going to come.
Congratulations, Mom, on a successful legal career.
Continue to spread that sunshine so others can follow.
Olivia, I'm so proud of all that you've done.
You've done it not only your way, but the right way.
God isn't through with you yet. He has other mountains for you to climb.
Congratulations, Evelyn. Godspeed.
I wish you much happiness and the time that you and Dad spent together.
I hope and praying that Now I can spend some time with you. We can just do nothing sometimes.
There's a Robert Frost poem, The Road Less Traveled. And I think in different areas of my life, I've taken the road less traveled, and that has made all the difference.
The Insider exclusive Justice in America news team is on location in Baltimore, Maryland, to take you behind the scenes in this new network TV special, Justice in America, the Evelyn Olivia Addison-Darden Story, to share her wisdom, hope, and hard-won legal experiences, which has earned her a reputation as an unyielding trial lawyer who repeatedly represents clients against big companies and the Goliaths of the world, and repeatedly wins. She has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best trial lawyers in Maryland and across the nation. She has built a substantial reputation nationwide by consistently winning cases other law firms have turned down. And her amazing courtroom skills and headline-grabbing success rate continue to provide her firm's clients with the results they need and the results they deserve. This is the Insider Exclusive, live from Baltimore, Maryland. It is my great pleasure to introduce Evelyn Darden to the show. Welcome to the show, Evelyn.
My pleasure, Steve.
Wow, the beginning of the show shows an amazing life that you have lived. You are a true embodiment of the civil rights movement in the 20th century and ongoing in this century. What have you learned through all your experiences that you can share with our audience about life, about humanity, and about the hope that things might get better and will get better?
And change. I believe it's Sam Cooke who sung the song, "A Change is Going to Come." And I'm very thankful that I have lived to see some major changes in my life, in my community, my country, and the world. But there's still so much more to be done, especially with regard to my ethnic group, African Americans. But as I said, I'm very pleased to have experienced changes where I came from a community, a small black community outside of Annapolis known as Browns Woods, where my mother, who was very smart, very intelligent woman, but she couldn't go on to high school because there was no transportation to get her to the one and only high school for black students in all of Anne Arundel County. But she wanted all of her children to have an education. So when I was growing up, even when I was 4 and 5 years old, she was teaching me herself. She was doing homeschooling when homeschooling wasn't in vogue. But she taught me and she encouraged me to go to college. And she always said, "You should be a teacher because teachers are making a lot of money. They can make up to $5,000 a year." That was big money back then.
And you eventually did become a teacher, didn't you?
I did indeed. I achieved my first career goal, and I taught science for 5 years. And I enjoyed it. I still enjoy teaching. I teach Sunday school, vacation Bible school, adult school. I teach a number of different ways, not in the traditional classroom. I teach my grandchildren. I teach their friends and so forth. Because to me, life is about learning. You should never stop learning. That's one thing in terms of what I learned from my mother on up until the day she died. She was still teaching and she was still learning. So in a nutshell, it's hope and expect change and expect things to be better.
Along the way, you have had some great mentors. Would you mind mentioning who some of them are and how they contributed to who you are today?
Well, my mother, as I just indicated, and she just inspired me to continue to learn all I could and the importance of education. She taught me how to read and write when I was 4 years old. And at that time, students weren't allowed to go to first grade. There was no kindergarten. And they weren't allowed to go to first grade until they were 6 years old. But as soon as I turned 5, my mother, who was the president of the PTA for a 2-room schoolhouse in the country, said to the teacher, she can read, write, and do math. I think she should be in school. And so that's how I got to go to school at 5 years of age. So she was a real inspiration to me in terms of education. My grandmother was an inspiration to me in terms of an entrepreneur. This was a woman who was the matriarch of our family there in a small community. And she managed to create a wonderful household environment for her 9 children, their spouses, and their children. So I lived in a house, we called it the big house. Unfortunately, we didn't have the amenities of today. But we lived there, we were happy, we went to church, we worked, and we got along well together. And there are different enterprises that she had. She was extremely good in math. And so she just handled a lot of problems in the neighborhood. And I admired her. That was my grandmother, Beulah Johnson. And then on a professional level, there are 2 men who were significant in my legal career. One is Billy Murphy, a well-known trial lawyer in Baltimore, Maryland, actually nationwide. I met Billy on day 1 of law school when he was invited to come in as a speaker to encourage young law students. And he came in and he almost frightened me and made me want to turn around and go home and not enroll in law school and not continue, because he said, the law is a jealous mistress. It will consume your time. It will want your time 24/7. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I just want to get another career because I was leaving the teaching profession and wanted something different. And so I saw law. But I later talked to Billy and he says, yeah, that is true, but it's a matter of balance. You learn to balance your personal life, continue those things with your family that are near and dear to you, which I have. My family, my church, my community, I give back. But at the same time, if I'm on a case or I'm involved in a legal project, it just pumps my adrenaline to know that I'm working to solve somebody's problems. So some people call me the fixer because when I see a problem, I hear the facts, I listen, and my mind starts to think in terms of how can I help this person? How can I bring a solution? How can together we can work to solve this? So that gets me excited, and Billy definitely from day 1 inspired me to do that. And the other is the late Johnny Cochran. I had the opportunity, Mark and I both, back in early 2000, it was late 1999, it turned out that Johnny and I were representing clients in the same case. It was an unfortunate matter where a young 3-year-old child drowned at a lake. He was with the daycare center. And as it turned out, one worker didn't come. And so they were understaffed to begin with. And then the lake owners itself did not have the proper supervision. And this toddler, really a 3.5, 4-year-old child, wandered out into the lake, and then somebody did a head count. It's like somebody's missing, and this kid drowned. It was such an unfortunate case. Our firm represented the mother. The parents were not married, and Johnny's firm represented the father. And we both realized, hey, we're on the same team. Let's work together. So he came to Baltimore. Billy escorted him into my office, and the 3 of them just worked our butts off on that case. And Johnny impressed me with such a down-to-earth guy he was. I mean, the whole office was getting all ready for this big, world-renowned attorney to come to our office, and he came in like any other regular Joe. And we just had a wonderful time that night working on the strategy of the case. And then going forward, it was a wonderful friendship for 5 years.
Your roots go back to a well-known civil rights leader, if you will, Harriet Tubman, right?
I'll tell you this, as I said, my grandmother's my mentor, and the one thing I can remember hearing my grandmother talk about was her hometown of Cambridge, Maryland. At that time, there was no bridge. Now there are 2 bridges over the Chesapeake Bay. And so my grandmother and her friends and members of the church were a part of the singing and praying band. They would get on the ferry and go across the Chesapeake Bay to Cambridge to visit churches there, and then she would, reunite and have a union with her family members. Well, growing up, I guess about 4th or 5th grade, I began to learn about Harriet Tubman. Never discussed it with my grandmother, but I was thinking, Harriet Tubman is from Cambridge. Grandma's always going, and I call her Mama, always going over to Cambridge. What if there was some connection? This thought rolled around in my mind for years, because when I learned of the qualities and personalities and traits of Harriet Tubman, I started to think, I'm a bit like that too. I'm a pioneer, I'm an advocate, I want to help people, I want to bring them to the promised land. And it was December 2016 that my cousin Dale Green, a professor at my alma mater, Morgan State University, was doing a presentation and talking about how the school was founded and the founder, and how the founder was related to Harriet Tubman. And as he talked, I started to realize Dale and I are related. He's saying he's related to the founder and related to Harriet. So immediately after the presentation, and we're downstairs, and I said, how is that? And he ran down the lineage, and I said, that means I'm related to Harriet Tubman too. I got so excited I was about to do a little happy dance there, because she'd always been one of my heroes, my mentors, and to know that I was related to this great lady just thrilled me. And so now there's Dale and our other cousin, Randy Ryle, who's a professor at Morgan, and myself. We frequently go to places to speak about her life, our family, and the connection. And it just brings such joy to me to know that I have a lineage and blood relationship to such a great woman, a great pioneer.
Wow. I mean, you've got the lineage, no 2 ways about that. One final question. Let's talk about justice. Your whole career has been invested in getting justice for those who deserve it. My question to you is, what kind of sense of hope do you send to America today that justice does prevail? It may take a while, but it will prevail if we have good people like yourself, like your son, like many of the people that you mentioned, like Billy and Johnny Cochran, continue to persevere and seek justice for those who deserve it.
There is hope, and hopefully there will be continued justice. And when I think of justice, I think of fairness. I think of how we treat one another. And my motto all of my life has been the golden rule, biblically based, and that we should really treat others the way we want to be treated. Not because we're related to them, not because they did us a favor, not because we're of the same political party or ethnic background or whatever. Be fair to people, no matter who they are, who they look like, what their background. Treat them the way you want to be treated. And that's what I do, and I try to do. And in my law practice, I try to make certain that that comes across in everything that we do. My practice, my legal career started out with that justice aspect of it and fairness. I never thought that as a student just passing the bar, that I would be at the trial table with one of the pioneers of the civil rights movement, Judge Kenneth L. Johnson. I started about a month after I was sworn in to the Maryland bar, and he threw me into battle right away because there weren't too many plaintiffs' attorneys out there dealing with Title VII employment law. So he took me with him to Richmond and Delaware and Philadelphia and New York and other places, U.S. district courts, to fight for the rights of women and blacks, especially those in the police department and the fire department. And it's because of his efforts, and I had the benefit of him being my mentor and working alongside of him, that now in almost every major, I would dare say every major city in the United States, at some point or another, we have had an African American and or a woman, a Hispanic or an Asian in top positions as police chief, fire chief, or deputy chief. And they don't know who I am, and they don't have to know who I am. But I, along with my mentor, Ken Johnson, helped to lay the groundwork because of Title VII in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And that was, what, over 50 years ago? So a lot has changed. And it's my hope that a lot more will happen. I just ask people to give us a level playing field. I wasn't asking for a lot of extras to be put ahead of anybody else. Give me the opportunity. You give me the opportunity, I will work, because determination and motivation has always been a part of my life. My mother and my grandmother planted those seeds. And it wasn't until December 2016 that I realized that Cousin Minty, that was her nickname, Harriet Tubman, had also planted the seeds. And so I'm just very thankful to be living at this point and to have lived through significant aspects of American history and actually world history as well.
Evelyn, I want to thank you for all you've done and continue to do, and thank you for the privilege of your time.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, Steve.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.